Imagine there was a secret fighting strategy that could guarantee that you won your next fight no matter who you fought or what martial art you practice. Well, in today's video, I'm gonna reveal one such strategy that elite karate fighters around the world are using to guarantee that they improve their chances of actually winning their next fight. And if you want to win your next fight too, then I suggest you keep watching to learn this elite karate fighting strategy. What's crack-a-lackin'? I'm Jesse from KarateByJesse.com, aka the Karate Nerd. And this strategy that you're about to learn is something that the world's elite karate fighters use on a constant basis. And the key to using this strategy is not knowing how to defeat your opponent, but when to do it. Let me explain. Before you can actually start applying this strategy, you need to make a qualitative assessment of your opponent. Meaning, you need to just take a quick look at your opponent and figure out, is this person better than me, equal to me, or worse than I am at fighting? Because there are actually 3 different ways that you can apply this strategy, and it differs depending on if you're facing someone who's better, equal, or worse than you. So start by looking at your opponent and taking a quick guess. Maybe they have merits, maybe they're a world champion. In that case, they're probably gonna be better than you. Or maybe you've seen them at other local tournaments or fights and you know that you could beat them. Or maybe they've been training for exactly as long as you have, so you think you're pretty much equal. Just have a quick look at your opponent and take a guess. Once you know whether your opponent is better, equal, or worse than you, you can apply the principle of today's video, which is known as the clock strategy. See, imagine you have a clock in front of you that represents the time of the fight from start to finish. If you're fighting someone who's worse than you, then you have to go all in on the very first quadrant of the fight. Meaning the first quarter of the fight, you have to impose your will and make sure that your opponent has no chance of even gaining the slightest advantage from minute 0 of the fight until about the first quarter of the fight is over. Because if you're fighting someone who's worse than you and you don't impose your will and fight balls through the walls from the get-go, then they might start thinking that you're not as good as you're supposed to be. Which means that the more time passes, the more they gain confidence and start thinking that maybe they can defeat you. And that might turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why if you're better than your opponent, you need to do your best to win in the very first quarter of the fight. Moving on, what about if you're fighting someone who's equally skilled to you? When should you try to win in that case? Well, if you're fighting someone who's neither better nor worse than you, but roughly equal to you, then you should strive to defeat them in the second half of the fight, meaning the 2 last quadrants. Because here's what's gonna happen. If somebody's fighting you and they know they're roughly as good as you, then they're gonna try to go toe-to-toe from the get-go. And you wanna try to make them tired. You wanna make them not score as many points as they would like to score. You wanna try to stall and wait so that they gradually get more and more tired as they put all of their effort into hopefully beating you because they know that there's a chance, because both of you know that you're equally skilled. So what happens is towards the second half of the fight, you start picking up the pace. You start going harder, faster, stronger, going all the way until the end. As they gradually get more and more tired, you get more and more motivated because you know that the fight is now in your corner. And this will greatly improve your chances of actually winning the fight, rather than trying to fight all in from the beginning. And lastly, if you're fighting someone who's better than you, let's say someone who's a 5 times world champion, well then chances are not big that you're gonna beat them when they're fresh at the start of the fight. So that's why you need to go all in on the last quarter of the fight. Meaning For the first 75% of the fight, you should actually try to ruin their game. You should try to suffocate their attacks. You should try to stay away or seek the clinch and just try to maybe step outside of the mats, get a few penalties, and just do all in your power to ruin their game plan. You want to make the fighter who's better than you frustrated. You want to make sure that they cannot impose their will and they cannot execute their game until the very last moment, and that's when you go as hard as possible to hopefully, if the stars are aligned, God willing, maybe you can get in 1 point or two just before the bell rings. And that's when you might have defeated someone who's actually better than you. That being said, remember the words of Iron Mike Tyson when he once said that everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Even having a perfect strategy doesn't guarantee that you're gonna win a fight. It's all about the execution. So the next time you're fighting somebody, start by figuring out, is this person better, equal, or worse than me? And then think about the clock strategy to determine when you should put in your most effort to try to defeat them. But now I have a question for you. What's your biggest struggle when it comes to fighting somebody? I've done a lot of videos about fighting. For example, how to defeat a bigger or taller opponent than you, how to fight multiple opponents, and the 3 best moments to actually attack somebody in a fight. But I want to hear, what video do you want to see next? Maybe if you tell me what you're struggling with, I can actually use that as a topic for my next fighting video. Leave a comment and let me know. Until next time, train hard, good luck, have fun, and make sure you go out there and win your next fight.